Hi, I'm Lori Jones, President and CEO of Avocet Communications and host of StrategyCast. Join me and my guests, innovators, disruptors, and visionaries, as we explore bold and brave marketing strategies that help you transform, scale, and grow your brand. Discover how marketing strategies can do more than drive revenue. They can transform workplace culture. In this episode of StrategyCast, Celia Fleischaker, CMO at iSolved, returns to the show to talk about the innovative ways marketing can enhance team retention and create exceptional employee experiences. Tune in for this fresh perspective on leveraging marketing to inspire from the inside out. Let's get started.
A competitive edge starts with strategy, and strategy starts with knowing how to develop one. StrategyCast is a leading marketing podcast that serves up strategic insights, trends, and tips to help separate your business from the pack. Tune in weekly as host Lori Jones interviews bold marketing leaders who have priceless wisdom and are willing to share. Each episode explores cutting-edge approaches that have proven instrumental in transforming brands into industry trailblazers.
Celia Fleischaker, I'm so excited to have you back on the show. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Lori. It's good to be back with you.
You're just kind of a pro at this now, aren't you?
It feels good to be a repeat. I appreciate being asked back.
You know what? We're going to call you an encore interview, not a repeat.
Thank you. And that's so much better.
When we were chit-chatting on the last show, first of all, I'm just so intrigued, so much of what we do from a marketing standpoint. We talk about our external audiences, right? I mean, that's 95% of our focus. Well, we don't focus enough on our internal audiences. And that's really what we're going to dive into here, and really how marketing can help HR build better employee experiences, retention, so on and so forth. Before we get there, because some people may not have heard your first awesome show, tell us a little bit more about your journey and about iSolved.
Sure. So I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at iSolved. We are a company that provides or helps organizations provide a unified employee experience with our HCM, human capital management technology. So you think about payroll, benefits, employee engagement. That's what we help companies work on. And we work with close to 190,000 companies across the U.S. on it, about 7 million employees. And we love what we do. And for me as a CMO, I love talking employee experience because it's such a big piece of marketing. This is my fourth time around as what should we call it, an encore CMO.
There you go. I like
there
that.
You go. And I love being able to talk about what we're doing. And it's so true what you said. When people talk to CMOs, you're always talking about what's your relationship with sales? What's your relationship? How do you work with the customer? But people don't always ask about your internal relationships with other members of the team. And I think that HR relationship is so important. And it's a real opportunity to work and partner with another part of the organization to deliver a lot of value for companies.
I totally agree. Retention is so important. Like we've got attraction and retention, right? And retention to me is the most important part because you invest so much in maintaining the employees that you train and ultimately understand your IP and your process and everything like that. So why not invest in human capital marketing?
Absolutely. And it's so expensive, right? People think about you do invest in that employee journey and developing them and getting them to be a strong contributor in your organization. And if you lose just one person, the cost to replace them, there were some newer studies on it last year where it's multiples of a salary, right? Like it's very, very expensive to get them back. And so exactly what you said, acquiring the right talent, but then being able to keep them on board is really important. And that's where marketing and HR working together can form this powerful team to help that area.
Well, and burnout is one of those key elements as well.
Yeah, we do our Voice of the Workforce study every year. And this is one of the stats that just always sticks out so much. 79% of employees commented that they had experienced burnout in the last year. And when you think about just what that means for an employee to put that down, that that's how they're feeling, that they've experienced burnout is really surprising. And unfortunately, it's a number that year after year we see it tick up. So the employee environment for in a lot of organizations, it's tough right now. It's a challenging environment. There are a lot of pulls on employees and what we're asking them to do, and they're balancing their personal and professional lives. But that 79% number, I think to me is always just kind of a shocker when you look at it, that that many employees say, you know what, I feel like I've been burned out or experienced burnout in the last year.
Well, and morale is tough, right? Because as it relates to burnout, because are you burnt out because of the workload? Are you burnt out because of a unicorn event like a new product launch? Are you burnt out because you've been working 35 years? Are you
Yeah.
out because you don't like the people you work with? I mean, there's just all these things that come into play that we really need to be able to understand, make note of, and focus on changing.
Yeah, and I think I mean, then this is where those parallels start coming in when you think about as a marketer, you're talking to a customer or prospect, and they have all these pulls on their attention and you want to get into their persona and what they're thinking about. And it's the same thing with an employee. When you think about your employees, what drives them, what motivates them, what's causing them concern, what do they value, are all things you want to understand about your employee base. And it's not the same and it's not uniform across your employee base either, which also is tough.
It really is. So, we are going to take our listeners and viewers today through a strategic process, very similar to how you would develop your own campaign regarding segmentation or understanding the customer, right? So, what's the right messaging? What data can you take a look at? And we're going to apply all this to internal communications, really. And I love the fact that you've done this with your own team, Celia. What was that epiphany that you had when you said, we better be walking the walk and talking the talk, not only from an audience standpoint, but what we're telling our audience for our own internal team members as well?
I think at I solved it's like extra important in a lot of ways when you think about
Yeah.
this is what we do. We're working with these people heroes, these HR leaders across all these companies, and we're doing this research and hearing how important it is to retain talent. And we wanted to look inside at our team's no different, right? Like they're facing the same stressors. It's a tough work environment in a lot of places. And so we recognize the value. I think the difference with our team is I didn't have to go to my head of HR or our CEO and
Right.
really
They
sell
got
the
it.
value of doing this.
Yeah.
They got it. And so talking with them about why we needed to put more emphasis and effort into internal comms and engaging our employees, there wasn't a lot of selling to do. It was more about, okay, how do we do this in the best way possible to make and create the most value?
I'm giggling a little bit internally because quite often we use the analogy in the agency world about we're the cobbler's children when it comes to our own marketing. I mean, I guess it could apply to a lot of service organizations or, SaaS organizations. Whenever you are deploying, you cannot be the cobbler's children of that solution.
No, we're often the first company that goes live on a beta product. We're testing it out, which is kind of fun, especially knowing what we do because you're testing it. It's not just like in this one corner of the business. We're all testing performance reviews, or we're all testing different aspects of the product. Benefits, we just went through benefits enrollment and all tested that out.
There you go. Okay, so you start with audience segmentation. You do segmentation on your own team members. Listen to this, you guys. This is awesome.
Exactly, like from different angles. So
Hey,
where are they in the employee journey? Is this a candidate? Is it someone that's just starting with us? They're well tenured with us. Then you want to look at them where they are in their career path. Maybe they're an individual contributor looking to get that first manager role? Are they a leader in the organization? So they require a different type of communication or different topics that we want to talk to them about. And they might be in different functions. So we do look at how do you segment the employee base? How do you speak to the employee base? It's not a one size fits all. You really need to be able to differentiate, segment according to those different factors.
Now, does it change for you? Like, let's take there's so many different models for customer segmentation, but let's say that a typical model is you've got your ICP and then you've got your personas perhaps underneath it. I could see internally how an engineering team member would think incredibly different than an HR team member or
A sales team
admin
member.
support
Yeah.
so forth. So do you find yourself over analyzing this whole model of ICP and persona? Like, do you end up saying to yourselves, okay, we need an ICP for each one of these, or do you just kind of forget it and just say personas are a better idea?
um, so I think you go in layers and with what you can accomplish. Because perfect world, would I have all these personas defined and I get everyone their custom personalized messaging? Sure. But it's
Yeah.
not realistic for how quickly we want to move or how fast we need to get things done. So I think we look at what are the most important segmentation pieces we want to look at. So in this case, it might be by function because, like you said, sales versus engineering versus finance, very different people inside the organization, and what is interesting to them.
Right.
What do they need to know about, and then tailoring that message for them. But we do think about that. We do want to understand where they're coming from and kind of where they are in the organization, and then make sure we're communicating relevant information, just like you would a prospect or a customer.
Well, and the psychology behind that mindset is what is the most important thing. How do we, how do we make sure they've got the feels
Yeah,
regarding the brand so that it's portrayed correctly, not only with their internal peers, but externally to the audience as well.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So you've built an incredible culture of storytelling and the really diving into the values that are important to the team members in onboarding, in events, in recognition, all these sort of things. How have you gone about developing that? I mean, it's a program for you within the organization.
I think storytelling is so important from a brand and marketing perspective, but internally as well. And I always, it's funny, my family member, what do you do? You know, you get that. And that's the question you want to be able to nail, right? And it's not always easy depending on where you work. And so one of the things that we always work on is explaining the value of what we do, the why of what we do it. We talk about our people heroes and how important they are to the organization. And that's best done with stories. I mean, if you think about what we provide internally and what we're doing from an HR, a payroll perspective, people wanna understand the difference they're making in people's lives. And for us at iSolve, like, yeah, did you enable that person to grab that pay stub that they needed for their mortgage application to get that new house? That's
A big
that's
deal.
it's
Yeah.
a big deal. You're kind of the benefits changes that come with a new child in the family or, all of these things that you think about. And so taking what yes, we offer technology and solutions to these companies, but going a couple steps further to explain the personal value and meaning that you end up providing and telling those stories is really important. And we get excited telling them internally, certainly, but also being able to tell them externally too.
Yeah. HubSpot has this incredible campaign. It's called Grow Better.
Yep.
And what they did is they aligned their external brand with their internal culture through storytelling. They highlighted their company values and employee success stories. Imagine highlighting an employee success story externally, which resonated with both customers and employees. I think it's, a great, great way. And the takeaway here is really how marketing can help HR craft these compelling stories and these narratives to showcase the company's commitment to employee growth, which, so retention and attraction.
Absolutely. Yeah, that very, very true. Like we've done so much work from a marketing perspective on customer advocacy and telling those customer stories and writing those case studies and taking that same approach with our employees. We call them our sidekicks.
I
I
love
saw
it.
taking that approach where this person that came in maybe as in business development, making calls on prospects, and they've grown into the sales leader. We
Right.
want to tell that story and let people know what can happen when you're part of this team.
Yeah, we call them Avonites at
Oh,
Avocet.
I love that. Yeah.
I love this next piece as well. It's about data-driven communications. I don't think people are really thinking that through when it comes to their internal teams. They think data externally only.
I think there's a lot of push, right? Like, we need to get this out. This needs to go to everyone. You don't always have the same tools for segmentation internally that maybe you have externally, like through a HubSpot. But really being able to look at the data that's coming back. Are people reading it? What are they clicking on? What's interesting to them? What kind of feedback are you getting? All that data feeds improvement going forward. And so we definitely want to look at that and look at that data when we send out. It could be a newsletter, it could be engagement on a Teams or a Zoom meeting as well.
How often a lot of companies do internal surveys, but like many surveys, they'll send it out and they might analyze it. They might analyze it, and then they might share it once at
Mm.
New Year or something like that, and then they don't do it again for 2, 3 years.
It's perfect timing for this question. We just did our engagement survey in Q4. We've been poring over the data. I have the kickoff meeting with my group next
Right,
week where we'll
yeah.
share.
I did not know any background
I
information, by
mean,
the way.
it's like that was planned. And I find it really interesting, like, to see that data, understand that data. It's the good and the bad. One of the things that came back, full transparency here, one of the things came back is that my marketing organization, they're like, we want more learning opportunities. And which rings true because when we do the voice of the workforce and the HR leader survey, learning comes back as the number one way to engage your employees. So we have this focus group that we pulled together, a team of individual contributors who are really excited to get involved, and they're going to lead this for the whole year. How do we do more learning? And we're so excited. They're great. They're like all over it. We're launching it next week, and we're so excited.
That's really cool. And that what's also neat about that is that you're pulling in the troops to be about,
Mhm.
to be in charge of and a part of something that's much bigger.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's, finding those opportunities for people to lead. Leadership doesn't have to happen with your title or the team that reports to you. There are other ways that people can get leadership experience.
This is kind of it's relevant, but a little bit of the flip side of things. And what you've described here is people that truly have ownership thinking,
Mhm.
and that's so important. Ownership versus renter. Kind of
Right.
thinking.
Right.
As we take a look at all of our employees, we went through this exercise yesterday. We went through every single employee and asked ourselves, I don't even call them employees, team members. Asked ourselves, do they have a renter mindset or an owner mindset? Like owner meaning they care so much about the business that they're always on and just, deep, deep passion for what they do each and every day. Every single one of them had an owner mindset.
I love that. I hadn't heard that, like,
Yeah.
way of describing it or asking people about it, but it is so, especially companies like in high growth mode where the larger you get, you sometimes lose that ownership mentality.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun. So all of this to be said, this is all about brand building. And
Absolutely.
that employer, that employee brand versus the external brand. Talk to us a little bit more about how you assure that the alignment happens.
It is about defining a brand and the care and feeding that you would put into an external brand that you talk about outside your organization. That same level of care and feeding should go into defining an employer brand. So, what is my value proposition for employees that I'm bringing on? I think one of the things with brand that we've found, especially over the last few years, is the authenticity of a brand is so important. And I think the way that you get at that authenticity is through the stories that we were talking about, the real stories of your employees. It's so important. And brand is holistic. It's not just about the internal comms, it's that full engagement experience that you deliver in terms of um, comp and benefits, the culture you're building, all these things come together to build that employer brand and that experience that you have.
Do you see often, and maybe through trade shows or through your sales alignment meetings that you've got internally, that there's a common concern among the HR world right now regarding brand, internal comms, everything that we're talking about? Is there one thing that has really got everyone concerned as we go into 2025?
It kind of brings us full circle to talk about the burnout number. Like there's still like people are still feeling the weight in the workplace, the stress that comes with today's work environment. And I think a lot of HR leaders that we talk to recognize the need for that unified employee experience that they want to provide. And this is where that partnership with marketing comes into play, because when you start thinking about, well, I want to provide a unified experience, well, that means I need a consistent brand. How do I deliver on that brand promise? Marketing can partner right up with that HR leader to do that. And I think it's, as people focus in on retaining talent, acquiring talent, the brand is a big play there, and it's important to focus and build that brand.
Yeah, I think so too. So regarding brand, you have something in the field now that is creating a tremendous impact. Tell us a little bit about the I solved insider rather.
Yeah, I mean, and this comes with building our employer brand. We recognize the importance of it, and so I solved externally. We talk a lot about the company, but we wanted something special for our sidekicks. So this I solved insider campaign that we've been running, which is it goes across the organization, and it's a combination of different communication tactics that we want to take out. So you'll have all employee teams meetings where we're talking about giving them the inside scoop on what's going on with our customers, what's happening with our brand evolution. We do newsletters and other things as well. And it really, and learning is part of it. It's all a part of engaging the employees across the organization, making them feel closer connection with iSolved as an organization, and making sure that they're embracing the company.
Yeah, I love that. And it's themed as well. There's creative behind it, and I think that's important here. If you're going to do this, you need to go at it 100%.
You do, and we're so lucky here. We have this amazing employee engagement team that sits in the HR function. They partner really well with our creative team and our internal comms team, and we work with them hand in hand to take this forward.
That's great. What do you feel, as people are listening to the show today or viewing it and they're taking copious notes on what they might be able to do and take and implement in their own organization? What was a surprise to you or a challenge that came up while you were developing this campaign, this internal campaign that they might be cautious of or at least be aware of?
Um, I think take it in bites, right? Like, I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in, oh my goodness, we have so much to do to build the right brand to solve this talent issue or challenge we may have. And we stepped back and said, you know what, we're going to start in one area, and let's grow that area, and go a little deeper here. At the same time, we've got some broad brush things we want to do, and start engaging the full employee base. But I think just don't take what's manageable, take what you can do, get
Right.
some quick wins, and then build from there. It doesn't it's a marathon versus just that quick race when it comes to internal comms and building that employer brand.
There's no doubt about it. Such like sound advice there. That's an issue I have. I try to take off way too much than I can chew, and you always end up taking a step back, saying, "Okay, let's slow this down a little bit." So I appreciate that. One thing as we're closing our session today, one thing that we're implementing on the show this year is this really cool thing called Better At, and I believe that this concept about better at is all about, you know, making things better for people we seek to work with, to serve, which ties so beautifully into what you
Mhm.
do. and the world around us. It's about change. We don't do that by working harder or creating more noise. We do it by becoming better at something. So, based on looking ahead for the year, what would be your better at, or what would be a better at for our listeners today to think through, and some advice from you?
I think, and this is something I'm working on too, because it is so easy to push, 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 and go, go, go. But getting better at taking a break and sitting back. Because for me, you pause on that. You don't necessarily want to take that break because you feel like you have all these deadlines. But stepping back and even a 10-minute pause, like stepping away from the computer, the Teams meetings, and clearing my head, going for a walk around the block, whatever it is I need to do. But I find I come back and I'm always so refreshed, and without thinking about it, start solving it just makes such a difference. So for me, that's something that, like, from a New Year's resolution perspective, that I
Love
want to
it.
work on is really be better at taking, even if it's a short break, stepping away, because it tends to make me more creative. I
It
can think about
does.
things differently. Yeah,
I mean, the ideas, it's the premise behind, some of the best ideas happen in the shower, or some of the best
absolutely.
ideas happen while you're driving. It's because your brain isn't on, crazy mode, getting a million things done, pinging phone calls, emails, text messages. You are able to shut down.
Yeah, I think so, and I think in today's environment with the tech we have all around it, and I love tech, but being able to step away from it for just a few minutes really does make me way more productive when I come back to it.
Well, I love it. I hope you guys heed that advice, because it's some real good advice. Thank you. This has been such a pleasure today. I just love having you on the show. What is the best way for our audience to get in touch?
LinkedIn for me is the best way. I'm active on it. Would love to hear from people, and thank you for having me back. I really, really enjoyed it.
Well, I appreciate it so much. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can contact me at Lori@StrategyCast.com. Thank you, Celia. It was a home run today. Encore interview. We go like this, right?
I love it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Lori.
That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on today's show. We hope your strategic brains are spinning with new ideas and bold inspiration that will elevate your strategies and marketing know-how.